Hi, this is Chandrashekhar Prabhu once again. Yesterday, a very sad thing happened. In a high-rise building, a 20-storied high-rise building near Bhatia Hospital, in fact, opposite side of Bhatia Hospital, behind a building called Matru Mandir, there was a major fire. And in the fire, we lost the lives of 6 people and several others were injured. A lot has been said about the fire, and that this is in an area where I was born and brought up in. My childhood was in the area around Grant Road Station, Nana Chowk, Tardev, in that area. That's where I grew up. And that is where this fire has been happening. This is not the first of the fire of its kind. There have been innumerable fires in the last few months that we've been seeing. And these fires are all invariably in high-rise buildings. Some of them have resulted in casualties, and it's very important that we talk about it. Let us first talk about this specific building and its background, and then we talk generally about the fire. This is a building which, when we were young, we knew it as a market called Subhash Market. This market was commercial market, and the whole land was reserved for a commercial purpose. However, that commercial purpose was converted into residential, and the entire FSI of the whole land was used for building a building called Matru Mandir. The owner of a land, incidentally, was one Mr. Patil, who was unfortunately murdered on the site. So this land has been witnessing scandal after scandal from time to time. Matru Mandir came up, and incidentally it has income tax offices on its ground floor and its first floor, and second floor also as well. And there are some shops which have come on the ground floor. And Matru Mandir consumed the entire FSI. However, after Matru Mandir was built and people came to stay in Matru Mandir, the plot was subdivided. And just the land below Matru Mandir was segregated from the rest of the land. And the land behind had these new fresh tenants who had come. They were not cessed buildings. There was a small cessed building on one side and there was another small cessed building on the other, but the rest were ground storage structures all over which were non-cessed. They could not have been cessed because the land was never meant for residential purposes. However, this plot was taken over by a builder who surreptitiously created bogus tenancies, and in the garb of accommodating the tenants, got permission for building this building. It was called Kamla initially. There was substantial amount of resistance from the residents, especially since some advocates who lived in this building opposed it. But yet the builder prevailed upon the residents, and finally this building came up, and the residents were not willing to shift from the ground storage structure onto this building, but they were virtually forced by MADA issuing vacation notices to the people. There were innumerable court cases, and the tenants could not afford the good services of legal professionals and finally had to give in. I'm specifically informing you about these happenings and these facts about this case, because this will give you a background as to how and why this fire has happened. The quality of construction of this building had always been bad. The people have been complaining from day one. It's been about 6 to 7 years since the people went to stay there. And every time during monsoons they complained about leaking roofs, leaking slabs, and walls being damp. But still they had no choice and they moved into those houses. The quality of construction was weak, the planning was bad, and the entire system of wiring was virtually substandard. As normally happens when builder gives rehab building, the rehab building is always a makeshift kind of an arrangement wherein very little money is spent and within a small amount of money, large amount of construction is done with inferior quality materials. Sometimes the steel used is not good, sometimes the quality of sand is not good, sometimes the cement is not used in correct proportions, and in most cases the plumbing materials, the pipes, the wiring systems are always of weaker quality. No wonder within 7 or 8 years the central shaft through which the wires were going to various families had a short circuit, it caught fire. There is a committee under the chairmanship of a deputy commissioner which is going into it, and very soon we will get the official version of what happened. But what we understand from the people who have been staying there and who have been speaking to us is that the quality of construction of this building was in any case very weak, and the infrastructure in this building, including the electric wiring, was really, really bad. The plumbing was bad, the water supply is not adequate. They were having problems after problems, but they had no choice, because if the builder has forced them to get into this building, they had to get in. So this building, the fire, the resulting deaths, the people who are injured, calls for a total review of redevelopment schemes in general and the quality of construction that the builders give in particular, and this building in specifics. The people are extremely upset and knew that this fire was bound to happen someday or the other. Everyone is talking about the fire department and the audit was not proper and things like that, but no one talks about the fact that the original construction, the original infrastructure, the original wiring itself was not up to the mark. Whenever we have noticed that whenever a builder indulges into a redevelopment, the original residents for whom he builds the rehab portion gets the bad side of the law, and really the quality suffers all the time. The people most of the time don't understand the difference between good quality and bad quality, and that is why they suffer. And as a result, we have seen 6 deaths that are happening of innocent people who really did not know why this has happened, but they have had to suffer. That brings us to most other fires where mostly it is the rehab portions which see the fire. And the rehab portions are always the inferior quality construction. Not that the free sale is superior quality, but at least it's relatively better than the inferior quality. This is what has been happening to buildings in Mumbai. And to say that 2,300 buildings have been built in the last 20 odd years under the redevelopment scheme, and all, I repeat, all those buildings have been of inferior quality, whether the residents of these buildings realize it or not. You don't require an expert to understand that these buildings have been built with inferior quality material and inferior quality infrastructure. So these are infernos waiting to happen. One has happened a few months ago, another building happened a few months before that, third building happened. So these are the kind of things that Mumbai will be seeing more often. The fault may be found in the cooperative housing society, or the residents may be found in a fault. No one will really find the real fault, which is the builder, because the builder prevails upon the political bosses and always ensures that he escapes and gets away with cold-blooded murder. And that's what has happened in this building. Most of the residents were morbidly scared as to what will happen to them if they spill the beans and talk about the builders. They've been warned and threatened that if the builder's name comes anywhere into the picture, then they will not only suffer but stand to be evicted from what is presently their house. So, we have taken it upon ourselves to present before you the facts of the case. And the fact is that this fire, like many others that have happened in the past year or two, and many more which are going to happen, this is a recipe waiting for a disaster to happen. So let me appeal to the powers that be, that if at all you really want to solve the problem, it is no use of appointing committees to go into the reasons of fire. Everyone knows that the reasons of fire is due to some kind of short circuit, and that has happened because the inferior quality wiring has finally given way. So unless there is a machinery which keeps a watch on the quality of construction, especially of the rehab portion in the buildings which are going for redevelopment, you will have many such cases happening. In order to avoid that, the government should spring into action. The builder puts up fire brigade equipment which in itself is substandard, and he just puts it up for the fire brigade department to come and see and just tick as to fire brigade equipment, firefighting equipment installed. Yes, installed. Once the occupation certificate is given, none of these equipments function. They are not maintained, they are not kept, because the rehab portion people find it very difficult to pay the maintenance of this equipment, which is very difficult and very expensive to maintain. So if we want to avoid fires in the city of Mumbai, please do a survey of all the redevelopment building, especially the rehab portion. Check the wiring, check the quality of construction, and check whether everything is in order. The government should set up a machinery to help these poor middle class people who have been living there for years together and now have to shift in the rehab portion of the house, which earlier they lived in cessed buildings or non-cessed buildings, as the case may be. Unless the government steps forward and sets up a machinery, and unless this entire process of redevelopment, which is totally faulty, goes through a major overhaul, Mumbaikars will suffer. There will be more fires, there may be more casualties, and there will be a lot of people injured. But the whole system remains well oiled, because the system is corrupt, and an entire corrupt system doesn't leave scope for any kind of quality work. And unauthorized work, bad quality work, always is condoned due to the corrupt activities of the concerned persons. So it is time for us, now that the elections are around the corner, to call a spade a spade. And we must ensure that is a proper mechanism laid down to ensure that no more people die out of such fires. With this is Chandrashekhar Prabhu bidding you au revoir, promising you to be back with many such posts all the time. With this, bye for now.